So good evening and welcome to our parent enrichment evening. And hopefully we have some students on here joining us as well. So glad that we're all gathered here. And I'm pretty sure everybody knows that my name is Valerie Hogan and I have organized this as part of our parent enrichment evening. It's so exciting to have our former students and our current students and families here to talk about what happens when you graduate Richmond Waldorf School and go out into the big wide world. I know I get a lot of questions about what happens for our students when you leave our school, and so just really glad to have this this time to be able to hear from you and your experiences. A couple of logistics. We have a preset list of questions that we are going to be going through with all of our panelists. These are the biggest questions that we get. So we hope this is a really meaningful experience for you. It is in a webinar format, so that means that the hosts and panelists are visible and can talk, but our attendees are not visible. We do want to hear from you. If you have any questions, there's a Q&A box that you're welcome to type in, and if we have time at the end, then we may get to a couple of questions from the group as well. Before I turn it over to Dawn, I'm just going to throw up a quick poll to kind of get a feel for who is in our room, and hopefully I can figure out how to do that. If I can't, then I won't, but I thought I could. Oh, here it is. Oh, just to see who's in here. Well, let's see. Polls. Launch. So this is just to kind of get a picture of who is here from grades pre-K through 8th. Awesome. Okay, we've got a little bit of a spread here. 7th graders, welcome. Okay, that's great. And now I'm just going to turn it over to Dawn Pollard, who is a class teacher, and she is our moderator for this evening. And thank you for being here to do this, Dawn.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for setting this up, Valerie. And just welcome to everyone out there. It's odd that we can't see you, but you can see us, and I really appreciate you coming. We had a meeting where we talked with the panelists, and it was so lovely to hear their reflections. And I'm excited to have this particular group, and I'm excited for them to share with you all some of their thoughts and their and what they've been doing. I've always thought as a parent and as a teacher that Waldorf education prepares students to be who they want to be, who they need to be, who they are. It doesn't mean everybody's going to be a doctor or a lawyer. And it doesn't mean everybody's going to be a hippie living, off the grid. But both are great. So it's just that so that people feel successful inside, I think, is what's important. So I've been at this school for 15 plus years. I've seen lots of students come, and I've seen lots of students go to lots of different high schools. And so tonight I'm very excited. Like I said, we've got 2 panelists who have actually graduated from college and are out in the big wide world. So they have this wonderful kind of bigger perspective. And then we have one who's currently in college. So he's got this kind of medium perspective. And then we've got 2 in high school that graduated a couple of years ago. And so they've got enough of, they're not in that freshman panic mode, but they've got enough of a viewpoint to share a little bit with us. So the first thing we're going to do are introductions, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. They'll tell you their names and how old they are and when they graduated, if they remember, and who their teacher was, their class teacher, and what high school they went to or are going to, and also any interests and hobbies. That to me is another fascinating thing, because Waldorf graduates tend to have, they might be doing X or in this school, but they also might be chefs on the side, or horticulturists, or who knows what. So it's nice to see all those different sides of a person. So I'm going to stop talking now. And Livy, can we start with you? Great.
Hello, everyone. My name is Livy, and I'll echo, it is strange not to see everyone's faces on this webinar, but I'll introduce myself. So I'm 27, and I graduated from college, I guess, in 2018, graduated from high school at Maggie Walker in Richmond in 2014, and was at Waldorf K through 5, back when the Richmond Waldorf School actually was called the Spring Meadow Waldorf School, and we were off of Chamberlain. And then the school moved from there to Forest Hill Avenue, like Westover Hills area, and then it moved over to where it is now, I guess, which is at the old Lutheran high or middle school or whatever that school was, but now it's Richmond Waldorf School. I had Mrs. Amy as my teacher, 1st through 5th grade, and it was back actually before she was married and had any children. She was Miss Harris, and then she got married. So I've known her for a long time and really loved my time there. Last thing I'll say about myself is my special interests that I think that Waldorf particularly cultivated was my passion for languages and language learning, and then also for gardening and farming and like connection to the land.
Thank you so much, Livy. Let's see, Stephanie, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hi, everyone. It's nice to see the number on the screen of participants that are here. But my name is Stephanie Grenens. I guess to start from like the beginning, I'm 23 years old, and I attended Richmond Waldorf School from 2004 to 2014. My professor was Mr. Trossley, Roberto Trossley. I think from 4th grade to 8th grade, and before that it was Miss Lisa, which I just remembered now, so that's good. And then I went to Trinity Episcopal School for high school. I went to the University of Virginia for college. I graduated college in 2022 with double degree chemical engineering and environmental science. I attribute environmental science specifically to Waldorf. I think also what Livy said, connection to the land and everything, that really got me interested at a very young age. And now I am a chemical automation engineer in Indianapolis for a pharmaceutical company. Been here about a year, and my special hobbies or interests, I'm going to say the weird ones. I love reef things like saltwater fish. You can't see because my background is blurry, but right there is a little reef tank, and I've loved those fish since I was in like 5th grade. And I also have a snake, and I think that's weird, so I wanted to say that.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Stephanie. I'm just kind of roughly going in age order. So Sky, do you want to go next?
Sure, I'll go. Hi, everybody. My name's Sky. I am currently a sophomore in college. I'm studying engineering at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. I went to high school at Rappahannock High School, which is a public school in the Northern Neck, and I graduated Waldorf sometime before that. I don't really know. I did all 8 years and kindergarten there, and for most of the time, my teacher was Miss Bullington. Weird interest that I can blame Waldorf for, like pretty much everybody else has said, connection to the land or the outside, other life forms. Right now I'm working part-time at a pet shop, so a lot of that probably came from Waldorf.
Great. Thank you, Sky. And Sky, were you in my early childhood class?
Yes, I was.
I thought so.
I was the yellow
Yellow.
star, I think.
Okay.
I I don't remember. I was yellow something.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I have a picture of you sitting on the cubbies, taking a long time to put your shoes on.
That sounds like me.
Oh, goodness. Let's see. Layla and Freya both were in Roberto's second class that he took through, first through eighth. So, Layla, you want to go? Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Layla Balance, and my teacher was Mr. Trossley. I was at Waldorf from 6th grade to 8th grade. Some of my hobbies, I'm a swimmer and I'm a horseback rider, I'm an equestrian. And a lot of my weird hobbies from Waldorf are probably my appreciation for literature and things like that, or my fascination with like poetry and stuff like that. That's all I can think of.
Thank you very much, Layla. And Layla and Livy especially have kind of underplayed their hobbies. Livy was telling us all these languages that she studied and speaks. And Layla swims at a very high competitive level. So yeah, hobbies, but really what places where they excel. Okay, Freya, would you go last but not least?
Yeah. So my name's Freya. I am currently a sophomore at Maggie Walker. I was at Waldorf from kindergarten to 8th grade, pretty recently. And hobbies, I still play the cello, which I started at 3rd grade in Waldorf. So that's been a while. So that's a hobby that I'm actually really grateful for that I started, because it's actually a pretty unique skill. And that's about all. Yeah.
Thank you, Freya. Okay, so this next section, I'm going to ask, I have 4 questions and I'm going to ask them one at a time, and the panelists will just jump in and answer as they will. And that, we'll proceed from there. And then we have a final thought, and we'll see if there are any questions in the chat. So the first question: how did your Waldorf education prepare you socially and academically for high school and college, if you went or are in college? So, preparation socially and educationally.
I can start. The thing socially that comes to mind that Waldorf prepared me for, I feel like, I think I said this, but I was in Waldorf from kindergarten to 8th grade. So grew up there. But something that everybody has told me after my Waldorf education is that I can read people very well. And I can like have a conversation with a bunch of different personalities. I can like understand the energy in a room, things like that. And a lot of people call me like a therapist, and I'm not trying to be, I just am like talking, I guess. But I fully contribute that to Waldorf, because I think that the way that we have our classes with the same students and the same professor all 8 years was really beneficial for me to fully like understand somebody's personality instead of just seeing them in one subject of a class for 1 year. And because of that, like I got to interact with a bunch of different personalities and understand how to effectively like talk to them, and them with me as well. So I think that was really helpful socially. And then academically, I would say that not having a large amount of homework, or even testing, that's like still a thing now. We did do testing like in the later years, like 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, I believe, or no, homework maybe, I don't know. But the like low intensity of that, I think really helped not burn me out. And I know like a lot of students that didn't have Waldorf education got burnt out like right in freshman year of high school, just because they've been doing that since they were in 2nd grade. But for me, I found testing kind of fun. So it was hard, but I kind of enjoyed it because I got to see like a result, and I didn't have to deal with that since I was like 5 years old. So
That's great. Thank you, Stephanie. And somebody else? Yeah.
Yeah, next. As you know, I guess it's been a little bit longer for me. So I was at Waldorf a while ago, but I give a lot of gratitude to Waldorf because it creates a space for you to just come into yourself. I feel like the saying people will share is it's like leading a horse to water, but maybe that's not the one, but you know what once you're at the gates, you're just ready to run in the races kind of thing. Some things I feel like I might have come into slower, like my sisters and we had different reading levels, I think, when we were in Waldorf. And then we all have become avid readers since then. So I feel like in a traditional public school, you might be forced to do these standardized things at a particular time of generalized lifespan development. But I feel like Waldorf is really great at working with everybody's needs to be at your own pace with things like that. Socially too, I echo what Stephanie was saying. Being in a smaller class, you have to work through conflict with people, and you have to you develop that trust with your teacher. And I think the teachers at Waldorf are pretty great at that. I can speak to my experience with Miss Amy, but I feel like she, my relationship that I built with her as this role model, really has led me to develop really great relationships with professors I've had and mentors. And I lean on my mentors a lot, even since graduating college and high school. There's so many people who've supported me. And I feel like it's because I developed that trust, or understood that someone in a teaching role had my best interest at heart. As Dawn was saying, I guess, yeah, the languages I speak. So I really got passionate about a lot of languages after I ended with Waldorf. We spoke German and Russian there when I was there. And since then, I've gone on to learn Spanish, Italian, French, a little bit of Swedish, and now I'm learning Arabic right now at JMU. And I love it. I think having that ability as a young person to explore these languages, but not just in a super academic way, it's way more experiential, and you're cooking and you're doing songs. I still remember the songs we'd sing in Russian class. My sisters and I will still sing it sometimes when we're practicing being little ducks in this one song. But yeah, I think I don't want to talk for too long and take up the space, but I will say school at Maggie Walker, which I'm sure many of y'all know is a pretty rigorous high school. It did challenge me, and socially I felt challenged, but it wasn't something I was able to be resilient and make it through and learn, because I developed this love for learning through Waldorf.
Wonderful. Thank you. Somebody else want to jump in?
I can go next.
Thanks, Sky.
So I would say academically, Waldorf prepares you for just about everything, because it doesn't just teach you straight facts like the 3 R's that you get in public school. It teaches you how to learn. You learn conceptual thought processes that allow you to excel at whatever you do, as long as you implement them. Also, Latin. Latin is such a good thing to learn. And that fits perfectly into the social part of it, which is that Waldorf really influenced an appreciation for culture in me. Sort of like what Stephanie was saying, you can sit down and have a conversation with anybody from anywhere as long as you speak the same language. And normally you come away with no hard feelings and you both learn something. It's kind of magical.
Lovely. Thank you so much. And thank you for the shout out to Latin. And Sky was also an excellent Greek student. Okay, Freya, you want to go next?
Yeah, I
Thanks.
can go. I have a specific academic skill that I think I learned that is really helpful at Maggie Walker. Is that I learned how to ask insightful questions, like why does this work, and just being able to find my own curiosities and then be able to ask teachers, why does this work like this, has really, really helped me just get better grades in general. But it also helps you, when you're writing your theses or something, those type of being able to ask questions about what you're learning is something that I learned at Waldorf that was really helpful for me specifically.
That's great. Thank you, Freya. And Stephanie's going to have to jump off in a minute or one. But thank you so much for being here, Stephanie.
And,
Yeah, Layla.
and for me, tagging on to what Freya said, yeah, learning how to ask questions, get to the point and be really direct. And I also think Waldorf really grew my vocabulary. That's something I'm really appreciative of that. Mr. Trossley used to be really hard on me about using the word like in 6th grade. Freya knows this. And it definitely, I got better at it, and I'm really appreciative of things like that. But one of the main things that I took away from Waldorf is memorization, like short-term memorization and everything like that, with all of our recitations, with our poems or our songs or everything. It made me really, I can't think of the word, but it really helped me out being able to memorize things in a short time or just comprehend them and having to analyze them and things like that.
Great, thank you. I'm glad you mentioned the recitations and sort of the memory building that brings, as well as the vocabulary, because I think those are unique to Waldorf. Great, thank you so much. And Stephanie's actually going to be off camera, but on audio. So the wonders of Zoom. The second question is, and some of you have spoken to this a bit, but why did you choose the high school that you are attending or did attend? And how was your experience?
I can go next just so I can say this next question with my face. So as I said previously, I chose Trinity Episcopal School in my high school. And I would say the main reason that I chose it is because it was the most similar high school to Waldorf that I found. So what I learned from Waldorf, obviously, like all of the different learning styles, but also like an attachment to earth, like all of our toys and stuff are like wood, and it's just like very nature oriented. I felt like Trinity was close to that as well. Although it was a more traditional high school, we still had a bunch of like outdoor clubs. We were right next to the river. We had a geography class, which was Waldorf, in my opinion. I love that course. So I chose that because of that reason. And also for my college, I also chose my second major in environmental science. I attribute that to my love for the environment because of how I was raised in Waldorf. So.
Wonderful. Thank you. Who else would like to talk a bit about your high school experience?
I can go next. I chose the high school I went to because in Waldorf, not only do you gain an appreciation for nature, occasionally you gain an appreciation for not nature. And coming out of Waldorf, I knew I wanted to do engineering, so I went to a school that had a pretty decent engineering program, and also it was a lot closer to where I lived. And that's why I chose the high school that I did. The college I chose because, again, it's a really good engineering program. And also, one of my friends from Waldorf is going there. So, all the way up in New York, and yet my friend from Richmond Waldorf School is going there as well. So it takes you places.
Wonderful. And who is that, Sky?
Gareth Lockwood.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. Okay. Livy, were you going to jump in next?
Yeah, I can jump next. So I didn't mention this, but I went to Sabbath at Stony Point for middle school because at the time when I was at Waldorf, there wasn't a middle school yet, or like I think there was just one person in 6th grade, and so my parents wanted me to be like in a bigger environment. So I went there for middle school, had a great experience with it, and decided to go to Maggie Walker because It was a couple reasons. I didn't know much about Maggie Walker other than like someone at my middle school had gone there, but I did know that there was a lot around language. As y'all know, I've been pretty uh, open about talking about my love for language, but Maggie Walker just has a lot of a variety of classes, and I think I also had this like interest in wanting to be in a public school setting. Like I'd been in a private school for a while, or in private schooling, and my sisters had both gone to Trinity, like Stephanie did. So they're like, you should come here, and I was like, oh, I want to be different. And there was like, I also swam, so Layla, I feel you with like swimming. It's intense, but it's also great when you do well. So I was like competitively swimming at the time too, and collegiate wanted to recruit me, but I decided to do Maggie Walker because I was just like, nah, I want to do rigorous academics, and felt really challenged, but also just like it opened me up in so many ways and like challenged me in so many ways, to the point that when I got to my college, which was James Madison University, I actually experienced that as like a chiller college experience than high school was. Like Maggie Walker was like on a whole other level with rigor. But I made it through gratefully. And yeah, I think that's all I'll say about that. But overall, I think it was a good experience. And I got to go to Italy. I think that was another thing. Like the school has some school trips you can do. So I got to take these school trips to Italy and then to Spain, and just appreciated all the opportunities that it brought.
Oh, wonderful. Well, Freya is currently at Maggie Walker. So do you mind going next, Freya?
Yeah, I do not mind. So I chose Maggie Walker because well, it's right down the road from Waldorf, so it's right next to my house. And also I think this is partly due to Waldorf, but I just really wanted to challenge myself. And also, as other people have said, it's just so many great course offerings. So you can basically do whatever you want. You don't have to be a genius to go to Maggie Walker. They have 10 languages. So the language is also something that I loved about Waldorf. So now I can take basically whatever language I want at Maggie Walker too. So yeah, that's why I chose Maggie Walker.
And what language are you taking now, Freya?
I'm taking Chinese and sign language.
Wonderful. All right, Layla, I know you had an experience where you went to one high school and then decided to switch. Do you want to?
I did.
Yeah.
So my original high school of choice was Stewart School. But I went to Richmond Community High School because of like we were gonna move and we didn't move kind of thing. But I went to Richmond Community, and my experience there wasn't bad. It was just the classes were really long, and they didn't really have that much to offer. Like the course selections were really small. We only had 2 languages. Like it wasn't my favorite thing. So now I'm at Douglas Freeman High School, which is a public school in the Henrico area, and they have a lot more course options. And I like my high school a lot because I can do my sports at my high school, which that was another main thing that I wanted to do because I'm pretty sports oriented. But I also can take Latin because last year I took French, and I wasn't very good, and I'm a lot better at Latin here than I was there. So yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you, Layla.
A lot of call outs to Latin.
Yeah, I like that. I like all the stories, but I like that. Just the idea of if you choose a high school and you go there and it's not working, you switch, and that's okay. And find what does work for you.
And my being at Waldorf prepared me socially to be able to switch to my new high school, because a lot of people in public school are a lot more awkward and more quiet. So I'm definitely more outgoing, and it's made the transition a lot easier.
Great, thank you. So the third question is, what are your plans and/or hopes for the future?
I can start since we're like going in order. Hopefully you guys can hear me. So I guess I kind of feel like I'm halfway through life, even though I'm literally 23. So when you ask like what exactly I want to do with my future, I would like to like go up in management at some sort of job that I get. One thing that I realized like at Waldorf is I really like leading and like mentoring and just helping other people grow. I've done that a lot in high school and college with mentoring programs and just like, trying to help in any way that I can from the experiences I've had. So I'm hoping to get some sort of managerial role when I'm like 30 or 40, but that's a long way down the road. And kind of sooner, I'm hoping to go back to school, to grad school and get my MBA, which would help me with the manager position. So I actually just took an exam 2 days ago and I didn't fail. So
Great, thank you. And that again, that was Stephanie. So she's here, but we just can't see her. But we very much appreciate hearing from you. Yeah, so who else wants to jump in and talk about plans or wishes or hopes for the future?
I can go. I would say for my future right now is graduate college. That's my first goal. My second goal after that is obviously I want to get into engineering and the sciences because that's what I'm going to school for. But mainly, I want to be able to do something tangible. I want to be able to hold it up or point at it and say, that's what I did. And I think a lot of that comes from like the woodworking and the handworking at Waldorf. I mean, I still have all the stuff that I made. My dolphins right over there. I have a spoon there, a stool there. There's a bird around here somewhere. And all my knitting is in various places. But this having something tangible to hold and point at, I feel like that's my goal. And I want it to make a difference. And I got that from Waldorf.
That's great. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Sky. That I would assume I'm not a Waldorf graduate, but I would assume that feeling of accomplishment of having created things, not just filling out. We used to call them dittos, but now I guess they're called worksheets. So yeah. Yeah, so Layla or Freya, do you want to talk about hopes?
I can go. I want to go into medicine. Hopefully I can be a surgeon or something like that. Pediatric surgeon would be really cool, I think. But I I think I've already got a head start on that anyways because of Waldorf, because we actually did some anatomy and focused a lot on physiology and stuff, which I don't think that the average middle school experience has. So I'm grateful for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, touching on what Freya said about anatomy, I know like when we had to learn all the bones and stuff like that, it really stuck with me. Just the way that it was taught, it made a lot more sense than when I had to learn it last year, but it wasn't much of learning because I already knew it. But what I want to do in the future, I want to be a lawyer, preferably a defense lawyer. But like my plans so far are probably to go into medical law first because I know a good amount about anatomy and I'm taking it right now. And it pays more, so I'd take medical law and then I'd go into defense law and actually do what I want to do because I like defending and I like just the whole being around the whole law kind of system. But kind of an ambitious goal is probably to be like an Olympian. That'd be very nice. But it's not really a job. But for a job, I'm gonna be a lawyer, and outside of that, be an Olympian.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love those huge dreams.
And I could
Yes, Livy, I'm sorry. I did. Oh, very unintentional. My
Okay.
apologies.
No, you're good. I love hearing everybody's dreams. I appreciate y'all sharing them. And Sky, I feel seen when you're talking about these projects you still have. Like I still have my projects, like at my family's house, we still have like the brooms that we did with woodworking and like the recorder cases and all that stuff. My dreams are, I feel like they're pretty fluid and they've changed a lot. Like in college, I studied dietetics, which is nutrition, and thought I was going to become like a nutrition counselor basically. But since then, I've really just gone on to teach cooking classes and steward this culinary education program that's rooted in a lot of like cultural practices and working with youth who are considered refugees in Harrisonburg. So there's a lot to that that's not just about the food. So that's really shaped me, I'd say, since I graduated. And I've thought about going back to get a master's in something related to immigration and culture work and like how you kind of create community when you have these cultural roots that might seem different than like the native land you're on, like things like that. So that's kind of in the works. I've thought about wanting to pursue interpreting more. I've done some interpreting in a medical clinic before for Spanish. Also thought some about medicine. My family has like 7 generations of doctors up until my sister's generation, so there's some pressure for us to become a doctor in some way. But maybe my path would probably be in the direction of herbalism and like plant medicine is my guess. So that's the realm that I'm in with it.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, when we had our sort of pre-meeting, a phrase that I think it was Sky, but it seemed like several of you echoed this idea of opening doors, that you feel like that your education here helped open doors so that, and you can hear that from their responses that, you know, the future is bright. That's one of the things I was picking up on. So last question, do you have a memory of RWS that you'd like to share? I mean, of course, we all have a lot of memories, but one that you'd like to share.
Hi, it's me again, Stephanie. One memory that specifically sticks out, and I still tell my friends this, like to this day, I think it was called Final Assembly, which was like at the end of each, well, I'm assuming you guys know, like the big presentation at the end that each grade does. I had Roberto Trossley, and for our like 8th grade final presentation, it was like a chemistry experiment, but also like a play at the same time. And at the end of it, there was like a safe but kind of large fire explosion. I'm sure Miss Pollard can remember because her daughter was also in my class, but like everybody at the assembly talked about that for years to come. And to be a part of that was super cool because you get to see like chemistry experiments firsthand instead of just reading them, you know, in the textbooks. And when I tell people that, like in high school and college, they're like, that is so cool. How did you do that? So yeah, we even have a video of it, and I always remember that experience.
Yeah, I do remember that, and it was amazing. And I was just thinking, as some of you were talking about anatomy and physiology and the sciences, they are experiential. And in fact, for anatomy, they pull out, you know, a full skeleton replica, obviously, and it's on wheels. And so I know for my class, you know, they had a name for it. They would dress it up. They would, you know, arm around this kind of stuff. But it was, to Sky's point, and others of you have made this point too, it was tangible. And just like what Stephanie was talking about with the experiment, it wasn't just something you read about, it's something that you did. Okay, who else has a memory they'd like to share?
Well, I have a lot of memories from Waldorf. Probably one of my most significant ones. I don't remember if it was our 8th grade or our 7th grade bike trip, but we were on one of our bike trips, and one of my classmates, I'm assuming it was Miles, he was like, "Oh man, Mr. Trossley, can we just stop?" And we stopped mid bike trip because we saw this abandoned building, and we all got off our bikes, and we went into this abandoned kind of looking. It was an abandoned building, and then there was a path behind it, and we walked the path, and then there was like this huge. I don't even know. It looked like it like held planes and stuff like that. And at some point, Mr. Trostley he was like, I think this is private property. And then we walked off of it and we went back on our bikes. But it was just so odd that we were just like, it was just midway and we were like, oh man, can we go do that? And for me, coming from public school all through elementary school, I did not expect them to be like, yeah, we can just go explore this abandoned building. So that's pretty significant.
Oh, I love that spirit of exploration. Yeah.
I can go. I remember exactly what Layla was talking about, but also this isn't a specific memory, but I always loved our plays, and I don't remember. Well, I remember basically every single one, maybe not the details, but just our 8th grade play was pretty fun. Shakespeare was really hard because just a lot of memorization, but the sets were just so awesome. And yeah, I love the play so much. So that's a memory I have from Waldorf.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned the plays because it is just one of those sort of turning points each year. But every class does a play of some sort. And yeah, they are definitely memorable.
I can go next.
Thanks, Guy.
First off, I have an absolute load of memories. It's almost impossible to pick one, so I'm not going to. I'm just going to say, specifically building off of what Freya was saying, the skits we did in the assemblies for Russian class. Because we were on stage doing a skit in Russian to an audience that presumably didn't know a word of Russian. So we had to be very animated and very slapstick the entire time to still get the audience engaged when they had no idea what was going on. And I feel like that contributed a lot to my everyday character. I don't know if you can see or not, but I'm waving my hands around wildly as I'm talking. And throughout day-to-day life, I try as hard as I can to turn everything into a laugh. And that came from the Russian skits and taking nonsense if you don't know the language, and turning it into entertainment.
Yes, and the Russian skits are legendary. Yes, and all the costumes and the props and they're wonderful. Yeah, Livy, do you have something?
Oh, I totally do. I love hearing y'all's memories, man. That's so fun. Like the Russian skits, like I don't think I quite understood that when I was at Waldorf when I was younger, that like the people in the crowd didn't understand what we were saying. Like we knew what we were saying, but so I was just like so excited about it all the time, and everyone was just like probably in the crowd, but I love that aspect. I really loved the farm trip. Like I love how each year when you're in Waldorf, you do it's kind of these different stages that you get to. So 3rd grade is when you go to a farm and you get to be there for the week, and you're away from your parents for like the first time ever for most people. So it's this big deal. And my year we went up to the Hawthorne Valley Farm up in New York, which is a biodynamic farm connected to a Waldorf school up there. So it's an even bigger center. And I just remember that being so impactful. And just like really fueled my passion for farming. And something I wanted to add to, like a second kind of like post Waldorf experience, I got to work for Waldorf in 2021 and to 2022 as an aftercare person. So Layla, I definitely remember you, and Freya, I remember seeing y'all around and stuff. And I just love the experience of being able to come back and to feel like I was a kid again, but also to be this kind of like a role model, I guess. But just feeling the gentleness of the space, that like you can kind of get into this rhythm and like feel like even as an adult, I can get back into that rhythm where like if chaos is happening in your life, you can still come back and just be in that flow. And those kids are so cute. The little like pre-K kiddos. Oh my God. The last thing too, I just wanted to shout out, there's someone who's no longer with us. Her name is Gerda Kott. She was like a pivotal handwork teacher and eurythmy teacher when I started there, and I think she passed away a couple years ago, but she taught us everybody German, and like she really like made my experience there just with her care and creativity and like just that presence she had.
Also about Frau Kott, I have this square of carpet from her eurythmy room rug that I carry around with me in my back pocket.
Oh my goodness. Oh, yes, I'm really glad you mentioned Gerda.
This carpet has seen many a Friday gathering.
Yes. Yes. And we have never been able to replace Gerda. I mean, eurythmists are hard to come by anyway, but yes, there's a real unique commitment and caring as a human being, as well as a teacher. Well, we have a little bit of time left, and so just sort of final thoughts. Do any of you all have advice for our 8th graders and their families?
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
So, anybody who is trying to decide where to go for high school, whether you should continue with Waldorf until 8th grade or whatever it is that you're trying to decide, first off, absolutely continue Waldorf till 8th grade. It's absolutely worth it. Second off, when you're trying to decide where to go for high school, don't worry about it. If you remember your Waldorf teachings through high school, you'll get where you're going anyway. You're taking the scenic route. For instance, I mentioned my friend Gareth Lockwood, and he and I now go to the same college. For high school, he went to Trinity. I still can't say that word. The E word. He went to Trinity. Yes, that one. Anyway, he went to Trinity, and I went to just a public school, and we both got to the same place in the end. So it doesn't really make that much of a difference as long as you know what you're doing when you go there.
Okay. Those are some sage words. Thank you, Sky. Layla, did you have some thoughts?
yes. From my personal experience, I would say if you're resistant to Waldorf, just give it some time. I would say, and I think a lot of people who knew me in middle school would say I was pretty anti-Waldorf. But I think now looking back on it and just really appreciating all the experiences that I had, I think it just takes time to grow on you. And there's just so many little niche things that you learn that you can take in your life and just look back on them and just be really appreciative. So my advice is if you're resistant, just hold out. It'll get better.
Okay. Yeah, Freya or Livy, do you have any advice?
I have some advice. I think I have a sister in 8th grade who is stressing out a lot about a lot of admission exams and stuff, and I would just say don't worry about it. Like my experience with Maggie Walker with the exam is it's not as hard as you think, and I think you'll get into at least one high school, so it just like there's all this unnecessary stress around the admissions process to high school, and it can make your time in middle school feel like you're in high school already, which is just not good. So just don't worry about it. That's my advice. Well, do like take academics seriously if you want to go to a good really academic high school, but just don't, there's no need for all the extra stress.
Great. Yes.
Yeah, I feel like everyone is echoing a lot of the just like don't worry about it, because I think it like maybe this is just from when I was at Waldorf, like it seemed like it was still pretty new to the community, so everyone was like definitely taking a chance And my parents, like, they intended to put us into collegiate, but my mom had heard about it, and they were in a birthing class with a lot of the families that actually started the Waldorf school. So everyone was just like, well, we're going to try this and like hope everybody turns out all right. And like, that's kind of like the vibe that I was in. And like everyone has gone off to do some really amazing things. And I think there's like this beauty of taking that chance, that it means you can really cultivate this creative thinking. You're not having a whole lot of like information shoved down your throat before you're ready. Like there's just a lot there that I think at whatever point you decide to transfer over to a different school, you know, whatever you feel like is best for your kid, or whatever your kid feels like they're ready for, I would say trust that. I think, like, I mean, as y'all know, I only went to Waldorf until 5th grade just because there wasn't an option to middle school, but I really appreciate the time I had there when I was there.
Wonderful. Well,
I could also add one more thing.
yeah, Stephanie, yeah.
So yeah, to echo on to what everybody said, I agree. One thing that I've always found interesting is every time I tell people about little experiences I've had from Waldorf, they're always like extremely interested and super, I guess, like grateful that I went there. Like they appreciate how I learned, and how I came to be like hopefully a decent human being. So I think it's really interesting because every time I mention it, nobody really has like large questions like, oh, that sounds strange, or I don't know if I would do that. They see like how I was raised in that school and how it benefited me and how it could benefit other people. So it's cool to see that from the outside because obviously I'm biased. I love Waldorf. I love the way that I grew up there, but being able to tell people outside of that and having them recognize it as well is super awesome.
Can I just say one more thing too that I just thought of? Like, I remember, and again, maybe this was just like the time that I was, or like the schools I was at. I do remember there being this feeling of like, dang, I feel really different than people, because I was like singing every morning with my class and like cooking food together, and now I'm like sitting in a Spanish class and then going to a literature class, and everyone's just kind of like, like it's just a very different environment when you like leave Waldorf. And so that was definitely an adjustment for me. And I think, you know, when you're young, you kind of like have this social insecurity at times, and so I think that impacted me a lot. But I don't think people really had power over me to like tease me, but I know that like that has happened before. But I think that there are ways to work around that. And also like, I'm so grateful for where I am now for that creativity and just this like kind of out of the box thinking that Waldorf supports, where it really like, I think it really mattered for me to be in that space. Even if at times like socially it felt hard.
That's great. Thank you, Livy. Yeah, so I think Valerie wants to say
Yeah.
wants to send out
I
an
just
invitation.
loved, I agree, what Livy said, like, I love hearing all of these memories. It's just so fun to listen to. We're at 6:30, but and thank you to the people in the void who are listening to us. If there is, if we wanted to take a question or two, I think the way that this format works is you can raise your hand and I can allow you to talk. If there's anybody, if there's a student here who has any kind of questions for our group, please, I guess, raise your hand in the electronic way. Parents too, if you're there and have a question. Wow. Okay. Well, I guess you have answered everyone's questions, team. Great job. I'm so grateful for everybody's time and really honored to be able to hear about, you know, what you all are up to, and really inspired to see what you're doing now, and I'm really excited to just see how you all continue to flourish. So thank you for your time and Dawn, I don't know if you had any final words or if anybody else on the call has any final thoughts before we let you get on with your evenings.
I have
Yeah.
one final thought.
Go ahead, Sky. Yeah.
So to all of you attendees here who have listened to our conversation, obviously you all joined this call to learn something. Question for all of you, did you learn what you came here to learn? If you didn't, raise your hand. If you did, good for you.
Yeah, and along those lines, I just wanted to say, because I know sometimes if I'm listening to something, I don't have a question at the moment, but then maybe the next day I'm thinking about it and I have some, something I thought, oh, darn, I wish I would have asked this. So please feel free to reach out to Valerie or to me, and we can either answer the questions ourselves or direct you to one of these wonderful alum. So yeah, I want to definitely echo what Valerie said. It's just been really inspiring to hear from all of you. So thank you all so much. Thank you, panelists, and thank you, audience.
All right. Well, until the next time, have a great day.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.